Alright, welcome back. So in this video I'm going to show you how I go ahead and make a new project and base it off of my storyboard that I created in Sketch. So the very first thing I need to do is just create just a single view application. That's how I built this. And it is a very simple game. So we'll just go ahead and get started. So let's give it a name. I'm going to name it Fizz Soda Pop Cafe. And I want to include unit tests. Click Next. And then save it. Okay, so my deployment target is 12.4, just for your information. Alright, so I have my unit tests here, which is great, just default unit test. I have my view controller and main storyboard. Now in this video I'm not going to really touch on Swift UI. That is not my goal in this video. Maybe later on I might dabble in it. I haven't decided yet. So I'm just going to build my very simple view here. So let's see, let me go back into, so here is my original design. I've created a couple of, created a pattern, which is the background on my mock-up. I've created a couple of assets. I will create more, but right now I'm just doing these. It just takes a long time, and I also need to be a little bit more inspired, so I'm going to wait on creating more. So I have 3 here, which is perfectly fine, and I don't know if I showed exactly how I did this, but I did create my assets already, which is pretty awesome. So I've brought it all in, and if you are curious about how I did that, I basically just selected my artboard. That's why I create individual artboards, as it just makes it a whole lot easier just to name the artboard and then export it. And I've doing this is actually really simple. So you just do make export, and Sketch, all you do is hit plus for each size that you need that is required by Xcode, and then you just hit export and it adds the suffix at the end, which is great. So I don't have to do anything other than create it and then drag it onto my project, which you will see in just a moment. Okay, so spinning ball. All right. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is go into my assets, and I need to open up my folder again here. And I'm just going to select everything and then drag it on. Oops. Select all and drag. Okay, so I brought in all of my assets, which is awesome. Okay, and then the next thing I need to do is just hit save, command save if you want to. And then I need to go to my main storyboard. Alright, so I'm going to drag on a image view. And I'm going to stretch this image view all the way out to cover everything. Because that's my background. That's what it's supposed to be, right? And then I'm going to make sure that it's not set up to be interacted with, which it is for some reason. So I'm going to uncheck user interaction enabled because they shouldn't be messing with it at all. And then the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and set my image, which is my background. Okay, and it's not exactly how I want it to look. It's aspect fit, and I believe I want aspect fill, which is, yeah, what I want. Okay, then the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and add some constraints. And I want it to be stretched all the way to the edge. No spaces at all. Boo, now I'm done with that. So now I'm going to start building on top of this. And if I look at my sketch folder, my mock-up, I see that I've got to do a couple more image views. Actually, a handful of image views. But let me just go ahead and just start dragging my image views on here. And I think I'm going to make it about that size. So I want to say maybe make this 140 and this just plain 60. Hit enter. Nope, 60. Okay, and then copy paste. Copy and paste. So I have both of those. I need another image view here. And I think I'm just going to do 250, and then let's just do 120. I can always change the size if I want to. And then I'm going to copy paste again, and I'm going to make this an even square. So 250, 250. Let's move him up a little bit. Okay, now I think it's time for me to start working on this. So I'm going to slightly reorganize everything so I know what order I want it to be in. This doesn't really affect anything, it's just for me. Alright, so I need to bring in my image here. And this is going to be the score. This one is going to be the time. Oopsie. Time. This one is going to be the number. And this here is just going to be, oopsie, some image. It says fries, but I'm actually just going to rename it to character. And I'll be changing that. I mean, the final name of these are, I'll definitely solidify once I start actually calling these out in the view controller. But for right now, this is just to help me organize things. Alright, so there's a couple things I definitely need to do. I need to ensure that the sizes don't necessarily change too much. So I'm just going to do aspect ratio on that. Number. I am going to do height and width, same with time and the score. I might make this one smaller. You know, I think I might make this one smaller, but I'll work on that later. Okay, so now I need to go ahead and make sure that these guys stay still. So it's time for me to actually start creating some constraints. So I definitely want it to be 0 to 20 here. I also want the same thing for this one. 0 and 20. And that should, I don't know why this one isn't doing what it's supposed to do. Oh, for some reason it didn't say that. So I need leading on top. That should, yeah, that should fix it. Okay. Like, I know I was doing that correctly, but for some reason it didn't take. Alright, and I need this to be leading and trailing. And I think I want to do top. This one here, I definitely want it to have the vertical spacing. Oopsie. You know what, I think on the character one I'm actually going to remove its constraints. I think I'm just going to keep it that size for right now, so that it doesn't do anything weird. Vertical spacing, and then do the same thing with the view. So leading and trailing. That should keep it still, is my hope. All right, and then I'm gonna go into that guy, and I want him to be, I think, less than or equal. I know it's probably gonna give me some serious issues, but I don't care. I'll just fix it. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and save my storyboard, and I'm going to start creating my buttons. So let me go back. Again, I'm going to do my button. And I'm going to mess around with the size a little bit. So I want to say, I want it to be, I guess, 40 by 40 for right now. Maybe, actually probably something bigger than that, maybe 60 by 60. That looks pretty big. Let me go ahead and check my size of my button in here. So I have this by 90 by 90. I think 60 by 60 is actually a good size to have. And then go back and look at my background image, which should be, oopsie, Fizz. And that is actually kind of small, so I think I'm going to increase the size just a tad bit more. And you can hold down the shift key when you drag, and it'll make a perfect circle. So that's about the size I want it to be, approximately, but I'm going to look. Oh, it's 100 by 100. Perfect. I guess that will do. So let's go ahead and keep that. Let's go ahead and solidify the width. And then I'm going to copy this button and paste and paste. So I should have 3 buttons here now. And I do. There we go, 3 buttons. All right, so this button should actually be number 5, and this one should be number 7. Okay, so we got my buttons here, which is great. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a stack view so that I don't have to worry too much about trying to space this all perfect and everything, because it's going to be a bugger to try to do perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to look at the height for a minute. So it's 110 by 374. Let's see if I can make it perfect. Yeah, I guess that'll do. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and set the height and width, and then I'm going to also set the vertical spacing and the constraints, so leading, trailing, and bottom. Actually, I think I'm going to delete this space here because I forgot to add something, so I'm going to delete that one. It shouldn't affect anything because it's an anchor to the bottom, which is what I actually kind of wanted. So actually I think I'm going to move this anchor down a bit, so maybe 60. Maybe a little bit further down. Now it's giving me issues, which is fine, because what I'll do is I'll just delete this and then go back to my stack view and then add that bottom. Oopsie. And do bottom space. Okay, that's pretty good. I like it. Okay, so now, so I have my buttons here. I'm gonna reorg a little bit. So I don't have to reorganize when I drag it into the stack view. Okay, now it's looking all funky because stack view has a mind of its own. So I'm going to actually go in here to the stack view and I'm going to do fill equally and add some spacing. Which is perfect. Okay. You know, I think I am also going to delete issues that I'm having with my buttons. Okay, so one of the things that I'm going to do right now is I'm going to actually go ahead and set the tags for my buttons. And the reason for this is that if I don't do it right now, I'm going to forget. So I'm just setting the tags to what its value should actually be when they're hit. And this will help me to find them when I actually create my code. Okay, now next thing I'm going to do is I am going to bring in some labels, but also I'm going to use a custom font. So I think I brought the font over on this side. Yeah, there it is. So I have a font that I found a long time ago and it's really fun. It's the same font that I used in my mock-up, so I'm going to bring that in. And you can find custom fonts everywhere. My favorite place to find free fonts is actually Font Squirrel, and that's typically where I find majority of my fonts anyway. So if you ever want to find really good fonts, or you don't want to use, you know, fonts that are in that come by default, you can easily do that. So I did bring my font in, but the thing is that Xcode, the actual app doesn't know it's there, so I have to let it know that there is a font there. So just hit a plus sign and just start typing in font, and it says fonts provided by application, and then I'm going to open it up. And you have to be careful about this, but because you have to make sure that you spell it correctly. So I just go into my font. You see how fun that is? It's such a fun font. And then I copy the actual name, go back to my info list, and then paste the name in here, and then do whatever the file extension is, which is OTF. Okay, go ahead and save that. And then when you go to main storyboard, most likely will not appear, but I'm going to test that theory. So go to custom, and let's see if I can find my chocolate font. And there it is. So now it's a button, which is awesome. Okay, so let me zoom in a little bit. So it just says button, but this is actually going to be 7, and I need to increase the size by a lot. So I'm going to say 50 just to, oh, 50 is a good size. I like that. Okay, so I got my size of my button. Another thing I need to do is I need to change the text color to match. So I'm going to go into custom, and I'm going to do my ink dropper and click that, and then I'm going to save it. so I always have it. Even though I don't think I'll need it again, but you never know. It just makes it easier if I don't have to keep doing it over and over and over again. So my dropper, click and save. Let's change the name. So I believe I did custom, my chocolate bar demo, and I believe I did 50, if I remember correctly. And then change this to number 5. And then my last button here. All right. So there we have it. We have everything there. Another thing I'm going to do is I am going to add some labels up here. So let's go up here, type in label, and let's go ahead and get that. So I'm going to do copy, paste, drag, copy, paste, and drag. So I have 3 new labels here. So this first one, make it a little bit bigger. Let's go ahead and change the font style to my chocolate bar. And let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's say 25, 30. I guess 30 is big. I think it might be big enough. Just make sure it's a little bit bigger. Center it, and then center the text. And now what I need to do is I need to find my score, or yeah, my score. So here's my score up here. My label's down here. So I'm going to just drag my label near my score so that I can do some spacing. So I want to center it vertically and horizontally. And I also want to make sure that it stays the same size, so it doesn't get any bigger or smaller. And that should satisfy everything for that. Let's see my errors. Okay, so I have a little bit of errors, but it's to be expected. It's the errors that I know I haven't gotten around to. Okay, so I have to do the same setup for these labels as well. So let's go ahead and go into this one. So now I'm going to do my last label here. Now I'm going to make this quite large. Oh, I forgot to center this. Okay, and center this one, and then change the font. Let's try 50. Oh, that's actually pretty decent size. Okay, perfect. All right. So I need to also center this one up too. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is I need to change the color of the text. So I'm going to do my custom and my eyedropper. Oopsie, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, right there. Perfect. Just drag that on there and minimize. And let's look at my, okay, and then I have this light purple color. So I don't want to use my eyedropper for this one. What I am going to do is I'm just going to go in here and then copy the hex. And I'll go up here to my label and change the color to custom and go into, there we go, and select all, paste, and drag this on here so that I have it, and it should be perfect. And same with this one. Go ahead and use my custom and my purple. All right, so it's looking really similar to my mockup, which is exactly what I wanted. So I can even change this to make it look exactly like it, because why not? So let's do cupcake instead. And oh my gosh, it looks exactly like my mockup. So that's how you set it up. Hopefully this has been entertaining or informative to you about how to actually use your sketch mockups to actually build your app and the layout. It isn't exactly perfect the way I want it, but it's really freaking close. And that's the thing with, you know, the mockups. You can make it extremely exact. You can do it, but that's not the purpose of this app. This app is just to get something up and started. One thing I do need to do is actually add my label, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and do that right now just to get it done. So I'm going to add my label here. Actually, I'm going to add a couple labels, but let's go ahead and do, let's see, let me look at my color that I use. Oh, I use 3 different colors. So, and I've already saved my colors, which is perfect. So let's do custom, my chocolate bar. Let's make this 50. Maybe 40, make it a little bit smaller. Yeah, that's fine. And this one is going to be the blue color. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy paste twice. And I'm going to label this fizz, soda, and pop. Again, I'm going to use another stack view to help me out. Let's squish it up a little bit. Squish it over. Squish it down. And kind of line it up. Set it in place. So leading, trailing. I'm not going to do bottom because I want it to be in line with this one, so I'm just going to drag it down to this stack view and do vertical spacing. Oops. This stack view to that stack view, do vertical spacing. And it's giving me errors. Y position means height, so let me go back, go on itself, and add height. Okie dokie. Let's actually make this a little bit smaller. Let's say, I don't know, maybe 65. I might make it smaller than that. And now I'm going to bring on my buttons, or my labels, onto that new stack view that I created. Here's my stack view, and here's my button, or my labels. I'm just going to drag that underneath. Then I go back to my stack view, and make sure that the distribution is equal. And let's create some spacing. Create some more spacing so that it's kind of right above the buttons. All right, there we go. All right, now I'm going to change the color, the custom colors, so that it matches. And then my pop needs to be that orange color. And there we go. Okay, now it's finally done. So this label here, I am going to go ahead and change to 1,000. You know, like the way I have the scoring, it never goes above 100, but just in case, who knows, you might have some really smart person who scores really high. But that's the point, is just to have fun with this. And let's say this is 209. Okay, so my layout is looking freaking awesome. I'm super happy that it turned out the way it did. I still need to add a confirm button, but I think I'm just going to probably do something a little different with the scoring or with the confirmation, where whatever the user has put in, where it'll test and, you know, create a score for it, or if it wasn't correct, it doesn't add a score. But anyways, I will get to the logic portion of this app in later videos. I just wanted to show you how I set up a very simple, fun, you know, view based off of my mockup. If this has helped you at all, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. If you want to follow me and see exactly what I cover before I even cover it, definitely sign up for my email list, my mailing list. I will give you a link to the syllabus. I'm doing air quotes. I know you can't see me doing air quotes, but to the syllabus of what I cover. So it'll cover all the code that I touch, what part of the language I touch in Swift, as well as some information about any of the frameworks that I use. So if you want that, sign up for my emailing list so that you can follow along with me and not be completely lost. So thank you again, friends. Just keep on coding.